The weather's changed overnight, but we're back here for a day of brilliant action at the Skoda Tour de Luxembourg. It's the Tour of Luxembourg, stage 2. On paper, the one for the sprinters, leaving Mondorf-les-Bains and heading to Marmeur. On the opening day, this is what happened. It was beautiful blazing sunshine, and 4 and a break turned into 3. We were expecting a more aggressive race. In the end, it was quite conservative. That suited a few teams down to the ground, though. And once the break was caught with the final 15 kilometres to go, this was the scene heading into the final 2 climbs. Both survived with a couple of attacks, but nothing big. The group that came to the finish, led out by Uno X. Israel Premier Tech, Movistar and Soudal Quick-Step had done most of the work throughout the day. And coming into the final corner, that second-placed Corbin Strong of Israel Premier Tech turned out to be the man who had that right place at the right time. Launching off the wheel, getting ahead, and despite some strong efforts coming from way back behind, most notably from Søren Kragh, it'd be the New Zealander who'd take the biggest win of his career. The opening stage win for Israel Premier Tech, and Corbin Strong taking the leader's jersey. A nice moment in the sunshine on the podium. Just a second win at international level and beating some quite magnificent competition. Kragh in second, Adam Buru in third, with Ulissi and Benoot 4th and 5th. 4 hard days to go. Not really under the illusions of keeping the jersey himself, I'm sure. But he's in it now, and he has a full second lead over Søren Kragh. 6 in front of Alex Aramburu, 10 in front of the rest of the peloton. The Blue Points jersey on his back as well. More cause for celebration. And 20 points lead, 16 in the race for that blue jersey at the end of the week. King of the Mountains on your screen. And Mats Wenzel wears that jersey. 11 points, plays 9 with Leonard Turkels in the break. Vito Braat picking up 6 points. And Corbin Strong, also the best young rider. That means that Rick Pluimers of Tudor Pro Cycling will look after that jersey for him today. He's the current second-placed man. So yesterday's sunshine has disappeared. Much more mid-September turning to autumn weather. In fact, today officially the last day of summer. It's 19 degrees out there though, and despite the fact that this is set to be one for the sprinters, there's still 2,500 metres to climb. Starting in Mondorf-les-Bains and heading north to begin with. A huge loop into the north half of the country as well. And then south to the west of the capital. Twisting and turning as always. We've got the first category climb, an all category and another first cat before we get to the finish. And a finisher of loops around the town of Marmeur, with an intermediate sprint on the finish line before we get to the finish. 2 sprints, in fact, before we get to the end of 184 Ks of racing for stage 2. At the start, this was the scene. A few arm warmers and jackets around, colder day, but I'm sure nice and warm once we get racing. An earlier start as well. Early breakfasts. And the next generation was looking on as Jumbo-Visma signed in. National champ at the front, that's Alex Kirsch. And the 4 jersey wearers ahead of another long day in the saddle. Probably the longest in the whole race. That's because it's the longest stage of the race, the easiest in terms of profile. But with this sport, you just never know. Things have been changing. Originally had a 4-man group up the road: Turkles, Inkhorn, Madison, Wenzel. But with 95 kilometres going, the peloton behind, it seems as though not everybody was happy. Van Boven radios in to say that there's been a change at the front. Bastien Tronchon has made it to the front again. And in his second break of the day, his third of this race in 2 days, it's Mats Wenzel. Interesting to see what would have happened on that last climb. This is a brand new image coming to us after we'd had early reports of a 4-man break with 3.5 minutes. Well, this is the scene, and this is the scene at the front. It seems as though Brian Smith, the early break, was caught on the climb, and it looks as though they're hanging around behind again, trying to give a pattern to the second half of the race.
They are. It's always the case sometimes. You know, we don't see the action at the start of the stage, how you know, the breakaway develops, what happens during the stage. We see it as everybody else sees it, you know, live pictures. So for the moment, we only have the 3 riders, small peloton here. It's just a pity we lost, you know, a few riders yesterday with illness, Groupama, and I believe Fuglsang as well. So that's a little bit disappointing, but Israel Premier Tech have got the lead. They've got a potential another win here, but you know, I was just looking through the start list this morning, and we don't have too many sprinters here. I would think that, you know, a couple of them would be interested in trying to win today. This is pretty much the only chance that they've got. But we aren't blessed with too many sprinters. This is the yellow jersey stage winner from yesterday. We are expecting a sprint finish today, but I do believe that possibly Bora Hansgrohe would be interested in controlling things. They've got Jordi Meeus, stage winner in Tour de France, possibly the most important stage for the sprinters, the last stage in the Champs-Élysées. So, but apart from that, there are a few decent enough sprinters, so let's see what develops. Only 53 seconds to these two riders, still a long way to go.
We're talking up a sprint. The organisers talked up an opportunity for the sprinters. It's the easiest profile, Brian, in terms of the 5 days, but it's not easy, is it? I mean, we've got a lot of sprint races and Grand Tours that have a lot less climbing than this.
Definitely this, you know, been in this part of the world before, memory serves me right, I don't think there's any flat in Luxembourg. I might be wrong, but you know, there's small parts, but you know, it doesn't last too long. It's a very small country, but it's very lumpy. Beautiful, kind of mentioned that yesterday again. But anybody that comes to Tour of Luxembourg knows that it's not going to be easy at all, no matter if it says it's a flat potential sprint stage. So again, looking at the teams that are here and the riders that they've sent, I would say that there's maybe 1, 2, maximum 3 you would class as, you know, sprinters, real sprinters, kind of flat sprinters. But you know, we see Bora Hansgrohe at the front, but I think this is their big opportunity for Jordi Meeus. I think he would be the favourite for today in my book, but who else is going to kind of chip in with the work? Who thinks they can beat Jordi Meeus in a sprint? With only 3 riders in front, I think with small teams, that's kind of the perfect scenario for them.
I was going to touch on that small teams with you as well, because it's one thing having your sprinter here. You can't exactly afford the full lead out and, you know, a team to chase things down. And look, we can see Jordi Meeus on the left-hand side of the picture there, just fading away. He was 2 wheels behind Richard Carapaz and Ben Healy. Right the centre of your shot now. Do they have the team to do what Jordi Meeus wants them to do today, with just the 6 riders there and, you know, mainly climbers, people for the overall?
I think they do. Looking at the team that they've got here, it reminds me of what Jumbo Visma had to do in the Tour of Britain for pretty much almost 5 days in a row. They had to ride on the front pretty much with 2 riders. It's the important thing, Rob, is making sure that big breakaway doesn't go down the road. And we missed this today because we don't see it line to line. You know, the attacks at the start, making sure that, you know, a group of maybe 8 riders. If you've got a team of 6, you don't want 8 riders because you wouldn't be able to control them. So 4 riders initially, another 3 now. So they'll be happy. They'll be happy that a couple of riders in here just kind of interested in the kind of King of the Mountains points, so they waste energy, battling out each other for those points. So yeah, it's a case of will they get any help? Well, of case if you've got up in the Tour of Britain. If you haven't, then slap your hand in the back of your other hand and get watching it. It's a good indication of, especially the start of the stages, how you manage that, how you manage as one man, as a six-man team, trying to control a breakaway and only allowing a few riders to go down the road. Because tell you what, Rob, if 8 or 10 riders have went down the road, this has been chaos today. But it didn't happen. We've got 3 here, and let's see what they can do. But I think the primary objective is King of the Mountains. After that is the control of the peloton behind.
Well, this new group of 3 riders has very quickly been allowed almost 2 minutes of a gap. In terms of the King of the Mountains, it's been a job well done for the man. Just coming in a shot on the right-hand side now. He's got the black jersey on. He's the 4th youngest rider in the race, and we spent quite a bit of time yesterday talking about him. Young Luxembourger Mats Wendel. He's picked up 3 points, a maximum of 3 points available so far today. So he's added to his lead. And that's why he's the man who's made sure he's made this second of our 2 breakaways today. Brian, you talked about the formation of the breakaway and the fact we didn't see it. We were able to keep tabs on it, however. And I can tell you that in the first 25 kilometres, no break went. We did have an early intermediate sprint, and I think that was the main reason for it. Intermediate sprints in this race mean 3, 2 and 1 time bonuses as well as those sprint points. And there's been a change in the general classification. Not a change in leader, but I can tell you that Quinten Hermons picked up 3 bonification seconds, and that means he's now moved up in the general classification to 4th place. He sits at 7 seconds behind Corbin Strong. Alex Kirsch picked up 1 second, and he's moved up into 5th place at 9 seconds behind Corbin Strong. We've got 2 more intermediate sprints before we get to the finish line. And then, of course, the 10, 6 and 4 for the stage win as well. So very interesting to see what happens with an eye on the general classification. And Quinten Hermons is one of those riders, Brian, who can climb, who's got a decent finish on him. He's a really interesting rider for the overall in this race.
I think the fact that he took those seconds with this time trial, I think for him, every second is going to count. I think you already mentioned he's very capable in this sort of terrain, but come down to a time trial, he wouldn't be in my kind of forward-thinking thoughts. So every second is going to count for him with a view to getting a good result in this race. So, I don't think that by the time trial, I don't think that the seconds will differentiate the win and the loss in this race, but it might decide where you can finish in the top 10. So if they're there for the taking, then why not? In that sprint there, and the King of the Mountain sprints, I think you've already mentioned this, that Wenzel took that from Boven, and Tugels was in 3rd place there. So the black jersey firmly on the back. We still do have 2 other climbs to come, so let's see how that competition unfolds. But for the moment, a lot of teams just kind of interested to sit back. Of course, Israel Premier Tech, they'd love to keep a hold of that jersey. Everybody's in a stage race. That's the first thought. Make sure you keep control of the jersey. So I think they'll ride a little bit, but I do believe that Bora will help them.
Our television viewers are going to offer a commercial break in just a moment's time. And when they come back, we'll be talking a little bit more about Corbin Strong, Brian, and maybe possibilities to try and hold on to it today. Have a little look at the finish and who it might suit. If you're on the telly, you're off for a quick commercial break. If you'd like to watch uninterrupted, reminder, it's Discovery Plus and GCN Plus, the destination you need to head to. And for those of you already there, thanks for joining us. Hope you're staying dry, because this lot might not be. Starting to rain. Weather changing. It's the official change of seasons today, Brian. I'm not usually one to take notice of that. Seasons for me is what the weather's doing at the time. But yes, end of summer today, start of autumn officially, certainly in the Northern Hemisphere. And those of you lucky enough to be watching in the Southern Hemisphere, you'll be feeling good because spring and summer's on the way. Here is the leader, Corbin Strong. Second career win yesterday. First place in the general classification, as seen from that graphic. And it was another important win for Israel Premier Tech, who are going about it the right way and looking to return in the next few years to the World Tour. Relegated this time last season. A change in policy, a change in direction, I think, Brian. And we saw that at the Giro d'Italia, didn't we? The first Grand Tour they rode after their relegation. And suddenly, instead of the old names who have achieved fantastic things in the past, it tended to be younger, hungry, talented riders who were doing the business.
It's always the case, isn't it? I've been there negotiating with managers and contracts and things like that, and building teams in the past, and it is always a case, when we have agents and cycling teams, and it's nice to see some riders signing kind of 3-year contracts, but I would say a lot of these riders, 2-year contracts is the norm. One if you're if you're not lucky, but it's always the agents are looking at contracts and what you've done already, not what you're going to do in the future. There's a way around that. There's a way of giving a contract but rewarding for the future, but you have to kind of make sure you've got the budget for that, of course. I was talking to a World Tour team before, and if everybody had received their bonuses, they'd have probably had to pay out €2 million. So it's a balancing act. I'm not in favour of bonuses. I don't like giving individuals bonuses because it's a team effort. I'd rather give a bonus for a team that rides a race and is successful rather than just an individual. But I know this does happen because there are minimum contracts and the bonuses can make up this. I think some teams have done it to some advantage. Some teams, they have to be careful in the budget.
On our digital platforms, for those of you rejoining us on the telly, we've been talking about Israel Premier Tech and their refocus on hungry young riders, and how it served them well this year. Corbin Strong, one of those. Fantastic victory yesterday, just the second of his career at this international level after a stage win in the Tour of Britain last year. And looking down at the top 10, 20 of the riders he beat to the line, you'd have to say the strongest in terms of his victories. He's a brand new back for more. Today, Jordi Meeus is the biggest sprint name, and everybody says it's going to be a sprint. Even the organisers had it down as a sprint. However, it's not always formulaic, this sprint, Brian. The sport, Brian. Teams only consisting of 6 riders at this Tour of Luxembourg, controlling the race for a fast finish, not going to be easy. We already alluded to that when talking about Jordi Meeus and Bora Hansgrohe. This result today shouldn't be considered a given. If we hone in a little on the finish itself as well, there's a final circuit to be taken on a couple of times, intermediate sprints on the way through, bonus seconds there as well that Strong and company might be looking at, and then a last 5Ks after a descent from Briedel and Kopstal into the last 5Ks that are relatively flat. However, keep your eyes on this, Brian, a slightly uphill final kilometre lasting almost the entire kilometre. Does that tip the balance back into the favour of Corbin Strong, or would you still have Jordi Meeus as a favourite there?
I think in the past, Rob, I've watched kind of Jordi Meeus, and I think it was a race in Norway where it was quite a kind of draggy finish, and he finished well. And there's a few times I've been impressed. They have got Marco Haller, who's good at this type of finish as well. But I really do think that Jordi Meeus is very capable of delivering this. I know you said there's a kind of uphill finish, but I don't think it's anywhere near what it was like yesterday. And I really do think that this will end up in a sprint with this kind of slightly uphill. Most, I think, I say most, there's not that many people, riders here that are capable of winning kind of mass sprints in the scale of Tour de France stage wins. I can only think one, Rob, and that's Jordi Meeus, and he proved it this year. But the rest of the field, there's some nice sprinters in here, but we aren't kind of blessed with a kind of sprinting field, and so this is a big opportunity for Bora Hansgrohe. You have to kind of seize it. And it does look as if Israel Premier Tech, although they won and have the jersey, they do say you have to kind of honour it and maybe put a rider up towards the front. They didn't do that. They've kind of sat back. I think everybody's looked. It's the same with what happened in the Tour of Britain, Rob, that everybody looked at the strength of Jumbo-Visma and said, well, you're on your own. Go and control the field. And I think it's a case of that. You're on your own. You've got Jordi Meus, who won in Champs-Élysées. He's the fastest sprinter here. Go and do the work. And that seems to be the case.
Here's Julien Alaphilippe. For those of you who missed us talking yesterday, a big day for Soudal Quickstep yesterday, launching their new initiative and publicising awareness around mental health. Make sure you give the team's website a good visit, as well as checking in on your mates. They've got Andrea Bajoli here today, leaving the team, but he's a fastest finisher uphill. Will it be difficult enough for him? I'm not too sure, Zorinta Stegen. Yellow jersey, as we know, today on the back of Corbin Strong. There he is on the right hand side of your picture, just taking something to eat. Blue jersey is being looked after by Søren Kragh today. So keep your eye on Søren Kragh. Down the finish yesterday, he's at 4 seconds in second place. Mats Wenzel, we've seen in the breakaway wearing the black jersey. And we know that Rick Plumers today wearing the white jersey of Tudor Pro Cycling. They of course have the likes of Alexander Kamp for a finish today. As Niels Pollitt, who'll be changing teams in the winter. UAE Emirates, his destination. It's for quite a few riders, a big strengthening programme for them. He's moving into the last few days in those green jersey of Bora Hansgrohe. And we're moving into the final 84 kilometres of today's race. Pollitt has potentially a big job to do today. All to talk about Jordi Meus. This is Patrick Gamper. Assisted by Michael Haller's second wheel. Local boy Bob Youngall's third wheel. Ben Healy there, the Irish champion, rocking that brand new national champs jersey. 7 national champions on the start list at this race. And here's Tish Benoot. It's been a bittersweet evening, I would imagine, in Jumbo-Visma colours. All the excitement and success at the weekend. We were talking about them and praising them yesterday. We did mention very briefly, because we got some live breaking news, didn't we, Brian, when we were on air yesterday? We had the fantastic news that Nate Verhooydonk was allowed to leave hospital and go home. Tempered with the sporting news, which is far less important, but I'm sure is something that's going to take some time to digest for Jumbo-Visma and, of course, Nate himself, and that he has to retire from professional cycling because of the heart defect that was detected. Of course, he says he is very grateful for the doctors and those who were around him when he had his awful accident in the car last week. He's been fitted with a pacemaker, but unfortunately has to retire from top-level sport. And it's amazing that he is well. We are absolutely delighted that he's at home. But of course, it's a huge loss to the peloton, isn't it, Brian? You're talking about one of the guys who has been, in the spring, he was one of the top domestiques in the world, wasn't he? Some of that work that he did in the Ronde of Vlaanderen for Wout van Aert was incredible. What a bike rider, selfless as well.
Yeah, right-hand man for Wout van Aert, and he'll be missed. It's we marvel at what Wout van Aert can do, but you don't really see the efforts of everybody else that kind of puts him in that position, and I really do think that he won the Tour of Britain for Wout van Aert. I really do believe that, because when Rodriguez and Williams went, I think in his interview after the stage, I think Wout van Aert had pretty much decided that he couldn't go with them, and the race was probably outside his grasp there, and Nathan Van Hooijdonk came back and helped to chase, and brought it down that Wout van Aert became this year's winner of Tour of Britain for the second time. And I think looking when you mentioned it yesterday, Rob, it was like, whoa, imagine doing something that you absolutely love and being told you can't do it anymore. That's a tough pill to take. But reading between the lines and reading the what he said, he's just happy to be alive, and I think that's the thing that you have to look at. What would himself and his family want? You know what I mean? Nathan Van Hooijdonk on this earth. Okay, he's having to give up something that he's brilliant at. It's what he wanted to do all his life, and a pro career is not long. You don't have a long time, but I know people with pacemakers. A lot of ex-bike riders that still enjoy riding a bike and things like that, but it's probably not the same as being a kind of professional bike rider. And I think we have to kind of concentrate on he's still alive, and he's got an unborn child as well. He's got a family to look after, and I think we talked about other people. What do they do after cycling? And I think there could be a place for them when the time's right. But from one day, coming off the back of winning the Tour de Britain, helping Wout van Aert to be able to do that, having kind of top form, not just at the moment, but kind of last year, over the last year, and what he does for that team. I know if I was told I couldn't ride anymore, I would be absolutely devastated. In my career, I would just be pretty much numb from it. It's going to take a long time to get over this. I know he's saying he's happy to be alive, but people that these pro bike riders love and ride and get motivated for, doing this and being told you can't do it, when you've got a kind of small kind of lifetime in the peloton, it's going to be a tough few months, maybe a year, and it's not easy. When I retired from cycling, I had a hard, not 2 or 3 months, 2 or 3 years, moving over to the kind of other side. It's a hard task to be able to do that, and I know, speaking with other kind of ex-professionals, that they go into a bit of good depression. We talked about kind of mental health and things like that. It's not good, and you can go into a spiral and things like that. So you do need, strong people round about you. And I'm pretty sure that Nathan Van Hooijdonk will get that help he needs to transition into, having a, I would say, normal life.
Nathan Van Hooijdonk began with Axel Merckx in 2014, a member of the BMC and CCC teams the last 3 seasons at Jumbo-Visma. Our thoughts are with you, Nathan, and we're absolutely delighted that you're home and as well as you can be. Stay well. .78.5 kilometres to go. Gap's gone over 2 minutes now. Wenzel in the centre here, heading up towards our next categorised climb, and there are more points on offer for this one. Going up the Montée de Colmar-Berg, or category climb, an out of category climb. And Bastien Tranchant enjoying himself. A wave to those who are skipping out of school for half an hour.
He's one of these riders, I think, after what he did last year. He's one of these riders, when he gets in a breakaway, you an eyebrow is kind of lifted, because he came on to the kind of pro scene sensational with that kind of stage when he had that win he had last year. And okay, he's maybe not been back at that sort of kind of level this year, but you never know with Tranchant. He's a very, very good rider.
Alongside him in the break, you've got the man who's just 31 seconds from the overall in Luca van Polver. It's another reason why teams behind will want to chase, but at the moment the team in the lead is just leaving it up to the team who we've mentioned are probably favourites on paper for the stage win today, in the shape of Bora Hansgrohe. So Luca van Borva is the virtual leader of the race, but there's a long, long way to go today. It's a slightly slower day than we might have expected to now as well, given the way that the race has panned out. The average speed only at 38 kilometers per hour right now. Racing for, knocking on for 3 hours. The longest stage of the week, this one. String up the peloton here on this rare flat section. The breakaways heading into the next climb now. Twist and turn away here, and you can see the hills up which they're heading. Currently in the north of Luxembourg. Not the far north, it's a centre north of the country. And we're talking about one of the smallest countries on the planet, so not a huge geographical distance from where we started. In fact, many of the stages this week crisscross roads where we will have been on previous days. We're on the Worlds of Luxembourg. It's stage 2 of 5 at the Skoda Tour of Luxembourg. It's Bora Hansgrohe with 4 of the 6 riders in their team at the front here. They're chasing, most probably, for Jordi Meeus, their Belgian sprinter. A crisscrossing beautiful countryside, not quite with the sun shining today. There's a little bit of rain in the air, but the roads are thankfully dry enough. The odd castle to look out for. These narrow roads that make it interesting as well. Second of the breakaways that have been out there today. We had 4 riders up the front. They only lasted for around 60 kilometres, didn't go till after 20 k's in. Caught again after around 85 kilometres. And this is the latest of our breakaways to go. One man's been in both of them. He's the man at the back here wearing 196. Racing for the Luxembourg-based Leopard team. They're a 3rd division team. He's going to be joining another team at that level next year, but he's on the path to the World Tour, Brian. He's going to be racing for the Lidl Trek development team, and, well, that's a team that is absolutely flying on all fronts at the minute. They're soaking up the results. There's a great positive wave about them, and off the bike as well. They can't stop signing people. It's like transfer deadline day every day with them. Absolutely brilliantly entertaining off it as well, and, you know, that they seem to have got the right tone with the social media management and the PR. It seems to me, looking on from the outside, Brian, that they're an incredibly well-run team, Lidl Trek, at the minute.
Oh, they are. I think they always have been. I don't think they've had a kind of huge budget. So when you don't have a huge budget, it kind of restricts you a little bit. And I really do think, because I've been involved in that side, when you get an injection of cash, you know, you can do something with it. I was given a couple of million to go into MTN Quebec to kind of rebuild that team. And, you know, when you've got, you know, kind of small pot of money, you have to be, you know, harsh sometimes when, you know, negotiating.
I thought they'd given you the million to spend yourself then. I was getting excited. I wondered what I was going to get for my birthday.
No. I was just in there to kind of rebuild and things like that, and actually we did a kind of online test, a few of us, to try and kind of find the kind of general manager, and I think we tested about 10 different people, and I did it just as a test myself, and it turned out I was more suited to be a general manager of a cycling team than all the others. So I ended up kind of, you know, doing the job, but I was only in initially to kind of rebuild the team. And when you're trying to rebuild a team with just a couple of million, it doesn't go very far. When you consider now Grand Tour winners are about 5 million, and, you know, you're talking about, you know, monuments and things like that. These riders cost a lot of money, so I think there must be a decent injection of cash into the Lidl Trek team by Lidl, and they've gone about it. You know, supermarket gone shopping in the cycling world, and, you know, they've made the best of it. And yeah, I think it's really good to see, and now they're kind of covering all bases. And I know that Pierre's good. I know Jacob Kennison as well. I know his dad. They're local to me in kind of Kent, and Jacob does a very good job. And it's just nice to see another team coming with numbers. And I just hope that the riders that are signing kind of gel in with the team, because it's okay signing riders, it's how they gel together. That's the important thing. And I'm looking forward to another team kind of locking swords with some of the kind of other bigger teams. And I have to say that Jumbo-Visma 5 years ago, they weren't the Jumbo-Visma we're seeing now, but look where they are, and look where Team Sky are now, Team Ineos. And I just like it, other teams competing. It's always very difficult when there's disparity between the top, the big money makers and this kind of smaller budget team. It's always very, very difficult in cycling. Of course, we're talking about Jumbo-Visma winning all 3 Grand Tours. Well, to have a Grand Tour winner, it's a lot of money to have in the team. That's where you have to keep everybody happy. And it's talking yesterday about Evenepoel and Soudal Quickstep, and a lot of the riders from that team going, because Patrick Lefevere doesn't have a huge budget as well. So it's a very difficult market, but it's okay buying riders. It's how you gel them as a team. And like you say, by the sounds of things, everybody seems to be on point with Lidl Trek, and I hope they do well next year and battle out with the the other teams to try and kind of mix it up a little bit more.
Well, the man who's on his way to the development team at Lidl Trek is just at the front there, as we're on our second of the 3 classified climbs of the day. This is the one where we've got the most points available, the all category climb. And he was just having a chat with Bastien Tranchant. Tranchant, I'm sure, was just saying, well, hang on a minute, what are you in this for? Is this the King of the Mountains? I imagine that the response was, yes, I'd quite like to win it, thank you, but I'd also quite like to keep this breakaway going. Remember, on the first of the 3 categorised climbs, that's where the original breakaway broke up. And we'll track their progress here as they go up the hill. Just under 3 kilometres long, the climb. Look at that castle. Well, Brian was talking about the shopping spree for Lidl Trek, and well, in their very own supermarket sweep, they've gone down the GC aisle to pick up the brilliant Theo Geoghegan. They've gone down the sprint leaders aisle, checked out with an expensive Jonathan Milan. What fantastic signing that could well be as well after his brilliant victory in the Maglia Ciclamino classification at the Giro d'Italia. And they've been right in the middle aisle as well, picking up bargains, I'm sure, in the domestique department. Great helpers, the likes of Berona coming from Movistar with all of his experience. Felline as road captain over from Astana. Comrade, who can win a race or two as well as helping out, and the same with Ullmann. Consonni, very much in the same category but in the fast men department. And you'd have to put Ryan Gibbons into that department as well. In Andrea Baggioli, they have a rider who can help and who can win too, so well played. I wonder if they'll be dipping back into their pockets before they reach the checkout at the end of the season. We will see. Coming towards the top here, Tranchant is in the white. There's 500 metres to go, and Wenzel is asking the question. Tranchant's allowing him to go. Bingoal rider Van Boven shakes his head. That's interesting because he does have a teammate up in second place in the man who was in the original break again today. That was Leonard Turgels. Well, Wenzel now realises it's going to be uncontested. He can save a little bit of energy, knock off his effort. That's good news for him, Brian, and it's good news for his team.
It is. We saw a little bit of a challenge yesterday from Van Boven and his teammate Turgels, but they've decided, I think, why waste energy? I think this man Wenzel was already kind of proven that he was in the original breakaway 4, and then it came back and he went on the next breakaway. Turgels didn't, his teammate did, and it was just a case of why waste all this energy? Because you have to say in the first King of the Mountains point, Wenzel was good. So I think it's the best thing for them to do. If they want to have any chance whatsoever, staying away to the finish, don't waste energy.
We're talking about Lidl Trek and their transfers. As maximum points go to the man who's joining their youth team, their development team this season. Over on the World of Cycling on GCN Plus, there is a transfer special this week. So make sure you go and check that out. And if you haven't checked it out, you can subscribe to GCN Plus, download the app. It's easy as you like. Ah, they must have heard us. Here they are. Here's Jakob Mosca. One signing they made a few years ago has proved that to be one of the top investments I think they've made. In fact, it's his lookalike. It's the point, Brian, where I looked down at the start list and realised Jakob was not in this race, but what I said about him still counts. Hilmoza. This, by the way, is Doulet. I'm sure of that one. I can see the number.
Coffee is having a team meeting at the back here.
It's all rather pedestrian for now. But there's no need for it to be any different, Brian, is there really, with the situation in the race?
No, there isn't. I think they'll be aware of what's happening in the front. It's, I think, smart move by the riders in front. I did say when Trong Chong gets there, you can raise an eyebrow, and it does look as if they are saving as much energy in front and thinking more of trying to kind of stay away from mistakes. They'll know that one team is riding, but when you consider that Patrick Gamper is here, Mako Haller, Bob Jungels, Jordi Meus, Niels Pollap, Frederick Wandau, that's a strong team, especially for this. I think the conversation's just had. There's a few points up for grabs, so Turgos has decided, can I sweep them up? And he got the looks like the OK from the Bora Hansgrohe riders.
Bora Hansgrohe aren't here for the King of the Mountains competition, and I know there'll be people who are switching on to cycling and will be thinking, hang on a minute, that's a bit strange. Letting him take a result, this is sport. But it's a funny sport in that it's very democratic and political at times, cycling, Brian. You know, you might need something one day, you might need a present or two. A lot of this game sometimes is just not annoying people too much, isn't it?
Of course, a lot of these teams ride with each other, every week of the year, and maybe not the same riders, but a lot of kind of sports directors, so you don't really kind of want to upset. A lot of these teams have good memories, and these memories last over years. Oh, you didn't help me here, why should we help you? And you see it often in races, and I criticise in my commentary sometimes when I see that happening. I think earlier in the year we had Team Ineos and Barry and Victorious kind of looking at each other, and Rui Costa came up and stole the show. One of the Spanish races at the start of the season. I think it might have been Ricky yeah, Valencia it was, yeah. And it's a case of, you're looking at your opposition and someone kind of steals the day, and you kind of mess up a little bit. What are the tactics? And it's the same at the start. There'll be a lot of teams going, and especially here, Bora will be going like, if you go on the breakaway, you're going to pull you back, and there'll be a lot of this kind of happening. And so I think, these things do, but it begs the question of Turgos there and Bingo. With Wenzel going in both breaks today, why did Turgos not, clearly up for the mountains competition, why did they allow the King of the Mountains jersey to slip down the road with his teammate?
Into the final 70 kilometres, and the gap's at 2 minutes. 2 of our 3 classified climbs out the way today. Wenzel, Tranchant and Van Bova are out in the front. Van Bova at 31 seconds, so he's the virtual leader. But Corbin Strong won't be too worried about that yet. The man who won yesterday's stage, Israel Premier Tech. Starting to get to a few wet roads for the first time. wet to dry on this descent that's coming up as well. A couple of little lumps and bumps before the descent itself happens, and then some lumpy terrain that will take us into the final 50 kilometres or so at our final classified climb, which is the Montée de Marion d'Alerath. And then we'll head on to the final circuit, 3 laps around Marmot. We talked about Israel Premier Tech and their refocus this year. We saw it in the Giro d'Italia. We certainly saw it in the Tour de France with their selection. It's brought them 10 wins this season. One of those coming in the Tour itself, which is a huge headline-grabbing moment, and a moment that owner, sponsors will be absolutely delighted with. Yesterday, that 10th victory of the season. They've taken a national championship on the road, one in the time trial. A couple of stage race wins overall as well in Norway and down at the Route d'Occitanie. Took them a while to get their first win this year, despite their strong showing in the Giro. It was all about podiums, wasn't it, for them, the likes of Derek G and company. Frigo as well, what a discovery he was. And there's confirmation on that graphic of the point that Leonard Turgels took. 5 to Mats Wenzel, though, who extends his lead by, so far, 8 points today. Unchallenged as well, really. Current standings. He scored 8 points today. He's on 19 now. He has an 8-point lead. So as long as he finishes the stage today, Brian, it's job done already for the man at the back here.
Yeah, that's all he wants. And I think we mentioned yesterday that, why get in the breakaway? Why go on into the breakaway in the first stage? And if you can get good points in the first kind of 2 or 3 stages, then it's game over for that kind of competition. Other riders come in here thinking, right, I'll go for that competition, but after a couple of days, if you're so far kind of off the lead, still mathematically possible you can do it, but it's a big ask. So he's doing a very good job, Wenzel. That's his goal, and he seems to be getting there.
To a nice dry sunny section of this road. We've been through our first wet patches just over the top of our second of 3 categorised climbs. Not the only climbs at all today, as we explained right at the start. Brian called Luxembourg a lumpy country, and it certainly is that as we're through the cornfields here. But a few spots of rain around. This is the first time we've seen the sunshine out though, and that's good news. It seems to be brightening up a little. Not quite cracking the flags yet, but there's time for that. Earlier start as well today. It was almost a perfectly timed finish from this man yesterday. Søren Kragh is wearing the points jersey, looking after it for Corbin Strong right now. And you can see on that uphill there with the Speedo, they weren't setting any alarms off that was going to see any fines drop on the doormats of these riders. We're getting the nice green signal and just 25 k's an hour. It's up and down before we take on our next descent, which is about to be taken on by the 3 riders here. A 1 minute and 27-second advantage over the peloton. Smaller peloton in this stage race, isn't it? Just 6 riders per team and only 20 teams here. More suited to the narrow roads we have in Luxembourg. Talking of Bora Hansgrohe, I wonder how Bob Jongels is feeling this week. I think they can dream of a home win for the first time since Frank Schleck. It's a big ask, isn't it? There's been no Luxembourger having won this race, Brian, since 2009. Of course, it was Frank Schleck who took the honours then. Brother Andy, who's the current race director, never won this race. And believe it or not, it's the only home win in the last 40 years. Lucien Didier was the previous local hero back in the year that I was born, in 1983. It's been a long time. It's an event I'm really getting into in the last few years, Brian. I think it's an improvement on the old trade team thing that nobody seemed to be up for. This certainly seems to be a studied, contested competition that people have real investment in.
Yeah, I like it as well. You know, even in my early days, we had kind of 2 up team time trials, 3 up team time trials. Of course, I rode, you know, 100-kilometre, 4 up team time trials. I've ridden kind of mixed time trials, gentlemen 2 ups as well. So it's, you know, it's nice to kind of mix it up a little bit. You know, I do look at like a team time trial when, you know, the Tour de France or something, you know, one of the big Grand Tours, a team time trial, I like it. Of course, there's a bit of controversy in the Vuelta this year because of the conditions and things like that in the team time trial, but I do think it's a good opener. The team time trials, especially in Grand Tours, some teams have stronger riders than others, and sometimes you can lose a few minutes if it's long enough. I think it's good to keep it short, but having this kind of mixed relay, I think is a chance. It's the only chance you've got a team time trial standing on the podium with the whole team, and I think now standing on the podium with, you know, both, you know, the kind of male and female counterparts, I think is something special, and you see how much respect, you see how much they get on together, and it kind of brings the kind of 2 elements together of our professional sport, because Tour de France is at a different time, the women's tour is at a different time as well. So it's, you know, in the past, you know, you see kind of old pictures of you know, like Greg LeMond and Bernard Hinault and things like that standing. He did the Tour Feminine in the past, and they were in the same kind of podium in Paris, but it seems to be very separate. And I think it's nice when, you know, both male and female sport of cycling kind of comes together.
Peloton coming not quite together but closer to the breakaway again here. Just taking advantage over this particular terrain, I think, Brian, to keep things in check rather than bringing them back, aren't they? It's gone down to 102.
Yeah, I really do think that the 3 in front are taking it really easy. They are kind of dictating the pace of the peloton at the moment. What they're trying to do in the kind of middle part of this stage is try and save as much energy as possible. You could see with the King of the Mountains, on you go, Wenzel, just take the points. We're not worried about it. We're saving energy because we want to try and kind of win the stage, because what happens, Rob, is with 3 in front, the chances are very slim. But if you save as much energy as you can, they know, right, they've worked it out, so there'll be 2 riders riding for Bora Hansgrohe, which leaves another 4. And then I think Jordi Meeus will be possibly looking for maybe 2 riders to stay with them in these kind of final kilometres, which leaves another rider. So it could be 3 against 3 in the finish. So if these 3 riders save as much as they can, and maybe when they get to like 25 kilometres to go, if they've got kind of a minute, that car parked, yeah.
Oh, good look, is it that? Oof.
No, it reminds me of, you know, Tour of Britons and things like that when you come around. Luxembourg is very much like that. Switzerland was like that in the past as well. So it's a few countries, you know, with the parked cars and things. But just getting back to the point, so these riders, okay, they're in front, putting their nose in the wind, but it's about saving 25 k's to go, maybe 30 k's to go, start to ride hard, and you know, that'll put the big pressure on the team of Bora Hansgrohe. They'll be hoping to get a little bit of help, but I'm not too sure they will, because they have, for me, the best sprinter in this peloton.
For those of you wondering maybe why we were talking up the man at the front here, Bastien Tranchant. Those of you who weren't watching, and you could be forgiven because it was smack bang in the middle of summer holidays last year. The man in white with the brown shorts, a Frenchman, riding for AG Desert Citroën, was a stagiaire, not yet a professional, had no contract signed, not even agreed to the best of our knowledge. You had in a breakaway in Burgos. Riders in fine form as well, weren't they, Brian? They were preparing for the Vuelta a España, which was, what, a week, 10 days away? he went out there and he beat them all at the same game. And you look at the top 10 and 20 of the riders he beat on the day. You had the Valverdes of this world there as well. What a strong, strong lineup it was. And from a man that not many people outside of coaches and scouts knew about, you know, he'd been through the under-23s and the junior categories. We know that Agi Dessert, one of the first teams to really work on the development teams of the youth categories. They've had it well established now for the last decade or so, haven't they? The Chambry Cyclisme and the foundation down there based in the Alps. He came and he won. And of course they certainly gave him a contract after that. And that's why you were alluding to the fact that people won't be worried, but wary when he's at the front of the race. He's shown us already what he can do against some of the very best riders in the world.
I remember that stage, and that's why I was saying Tronchon by name, Truncheon by nature, just hits them all over the top of the heads. And it was such a brilliant win, as you said, up against the esteemed company. And, you know, as a stagiaire, you just look at getting round a race, maybe working for your team, and he went out there and won the stage. So you can see that he's quite an intelligent rider, but it was just a breath of fresh air last year. A rider that we didn't really kind of know too much about. No one really kind of talking about him, and he pops up with a really nice win.
Conversation there between Rojas and Amador. Former teammates on the bike. They're neighbours off it actually when Amador's in Europe. He's now a resident of Andorra. Same with Jose Joaquim Rojas, who swapped the nice sunny weather down south in Murcia, dry training conditions, for the cold and a lot of rain and snow up in Andorra. I wonder why that was. But yes, they ride a lot together now. Rojas and Amador, both coming towards the end of their careers, and they've had good careers as well. Changed slightly in what their jobs are, aren't they now? Amador has gone from a mainly attacking rider to a sort of road captain domestique, and Rojas, who was a bit of a sprinter, wasn't he, in his earlier days, now really taking on the same job, and he's done a really solid job, hasn't he, Rojas, in particular the last 10 years or so for Movistar. Amador did the job, didn't he, for what was Kestepan back at the time, and went on to move to what was Team Sky, Ineos, and now at EF Education EasyPost, working for the likes of Richard Carapaz here. Reminder that Rojas himself won earlier races in his career. And Amador, a Grand Tour stage win at the Giro. Also a man who's finished in the top 4 of the Giro d'Italia. Pioneer of cycling as well for a whole nation, for Costa Rica. Continuing to play with each other, the groups. Went out to 2.5 minutes from nothing. Went down to a minute, back to a minute and a half. And it's Van Bove in the fluorescent yellow at the front. Fenzel in the centre, who's wearing the King of the Mountains jersey, and will be as long as he finishes the race today, whatever happens on the final of the 3 categorised climbs. And Tronchon, the rider we were just talking about, who sprung to fame with his victory in Burgos last year.
There is a tactic that you can use if you're riding on the front, and now that Bora have taken control, you can ride the gap down a little bit inside a minute to try and get a reaction from the 3 in front. When I say a reaction, because they're taking it easy, the peloton are taking it easy, but they don't want these guys to take it that easy because they'll be harder to bring back in the final. So if you're saving your legs like we were talking about, that means you get more power towards the end. So for the team of Bora Hansgrohe, they'll be hoping that these guys get tired towards the end. So the only way they're going to get tired is you make them work hard. So try and kind of push into that gap and see if you can get reaction. But they pushed into that gap and a little reaction. It's gone up about 30 seconds, but not a lot.
Luca Van Bove, the only rider in this trio we haven't spent too much time talking about yet. Of course, he was alongside Tronchon, a late joiner to the front today. It's his first pro year. Hasn't done too much stage racing actually since he turned pro. Rode down in Bessèges at the start of the year. What in his native Flemish he'd call the Ster van Bessèges. Of course, the Étoile de Bessèges, the race name in French. He went to Oman, he rode there as well, and then into the classic season, made his monument debuts. Ronde van Vlaanderen, and then the Liège, Bastogne-Liège, not too far from here, just over the border in Belgium. Rode his national tour as well. And here he is racing in Luxembourg. Learning on the job. He's 23. Because by today's standards, that's not an early time to turn pro, isn't it? Talking of many teenagers now riding amongst the professionals in their first years. From Bova going the more traditional route through Belgian cycling clubs, and who's on the books of Lotto for a while. He's found a home at Bingoal. He's showing off their jersey here in Luxembourg. 31 seconds at the start of the day means he's in the virtual general classification lead now. 58 kilometres still to go. Corbin Strong, the race leader of Israel Premier Tech, will be happy that he's in a strongish position here as well. Just a word on his win yesterday, Brian. You've had a chance to sleep on it and think about it again. I know that you were impressed with him yesterday. Any further observations?
Not really, to be honest. I think it was the case when Michael Woods was there in the penultimate climb. Normally Woodsy would try and kind of do something, but it was clear that he wasn't kind of pushing on, which meant that they were all in for Corbin Strong. And you know, I was in the commentary box at Tour of Britain, the first stage last year up in Glen Shee, and you know, he won that quite convincingly in the end. So young talent, super strong. We talked about the Kiwis, they always produce some really nice riders, but he was still up against it. You know, Carapaz and Gall and these type of riders were trying to kind of rip it up, more of the kind of climbers, but I think it was all about positioning than anything else. Sharmig was the rider from Uno X that led into the corner, and it was perfect. We see Soren Kragh Andersen from Alpecin Deceuninck, he's in the points jersey today. I think he was the one that just wasn't in the right place. He seemed to be the strongest in the sprint, but we often say that about sprints. It's not just about how fast you are, it's about positioning as well, and he did a strong sprint. But yeah, I'm pleased for Corbin Strong. Let's see how he develops, and like you say, the team are looking not as a retirement home as Sylvain Adams thought it was in the past, but looking for a little bit more kind of youth and development. And if you got that kind of balance, and we were talking yesterday, it's a pity that Fuglsang is not here, because he was showing some reasonably good form in the Super 8 Classic. He was there, so it looked as if he's in decent form recently. But down to, you know, one rider less, down to 5 riders. But let's see what they do for the rest of the race. They decided, I think because Fuglsang wasn't there, they got 6 riders, and they've got other ambitions for this race. They decided that, and I think everybody's decided that Bora Hansgrohe get the fastest sprinter, then they should do all the work today.
Corbin Strong not going to be the only Kiwi riding for Israel Premier Tech next year, because George Bennett's joining, one of the top Kiwi riders in the last decade, and that's a really exciting signing. Of course, he's a man who's gone from his own ambitions to working for others, and working for 2 of the top GC teams of the last 5 years. Firstly at Jumbo-Visma, mainly in the service of then Primož Roglic, and more recently being one of the main men for Tadej Pogačar. And he's quite a bit more mobile than that as well. He's a top rider, is George Bennett, and I guess coming into a stage of his career where he's going to pass on his experience, the culture of the great things he's learned in the top teams, and he's probably going to be hungry to get the odd opportunity for himself again as well. And working with his good mate Sam Bewley, who's also from New Zealand and a sports director there, again part of that reinvigoration, renewing of ambitions. And it's, as we mentioned early on in the broadcast today, certainly reflecting well in the results for Israel Premier Tech at the minute. They're riding today in the knowledge they've already won once this week, but with that new approach to things, I'm sure they'll be hungry to do something again today if they can. What's going to be happening to this man next year, though? We're still no closer to finding out. It's all gone quiet on the rumour mill front there. There's certainly a lack of official announcements. Will he be there? Won't he be there? Was at the start of the year, all the talk was there was Alaphilippe leaving the team. We'll have to see what develops in the next couple of months. "55 kilometres. Heading towards our final climb of the day in terms of classification, and it's a short one, but a nasty one. First 600 metres above 10%, and you've got a little bit of a rest for 500 metres, and then it kicks up again. It's only 1.5 kilometres long, average gradient of 8.2%. It's the Monte de Mariandaleraf. Hans Groby looking to get up there with Jordi Meeus in the right position. He's sitting right at the back, ready to go. There's another man whose career has changed this year with that victory on the Champs-Élysées. Gone from often nearly man. So not officially a monuments man, but it's a monument sprint, that isn't it?
Yeah, as sprinting goes, that's what they all want to win. Is, you know, there's a few events. I think Shell de Price, Champs-Élysées. I think any stage of the final stage of a Grand Tour, all the sprinters kind of want to get there. It's a bit of prestige, and because I think mainly because it's in the capital city, or a major city, in the case of Italy. So it's, you know, it's really exciting. And so is this man.
Now then, hello. What's occurring here?
Why wait for a sprint when you don't have an out-and-out sprinter? This is the best thing to do. You know, they're only sitting up the road 1 minute, and, you know, use it on this bit of a climb, try and kind of mix it up a little bit. This is the counter-attack. This is what I think teams don't do enough of.
Use the parkour to your advantage, and Ben Healy, we know, likes to go long. Any time in the race where there are hills, you get into the last 60k. We saw the Giro, don't we? It's Ben Healy territory, and we're getting a reaction now from Arkea Samsic, again from the main men from Bingo. And look at Mike Woods looking behind. Look around, Turns is not too far away as well. The thing is here, already crumbling.
Yeah, the thing is here, you can't really let Ben Healy go because of the kind of overall. So you can see that Bora have to ride, but I think Israel Premier Tech have to kind of look at this one. But we were saying this all along. The F1 team, everybody knows that one team are riding on the front. Just one team. That's 6 riders. When you consider you've got kind of lead out, you've got your sprinter in there, that only leaves kind of 3 or 4 riders, 3 in front. So if another kind of 3, 4, 5 riders go in this counter-attack, that's danger. It may not end in a bunch finish. So this is why we have to see a reaction. But also, Israel Premier Tech have to kind of watch out that no kind of danger men for the overall go down the road as well.
Your television viewers rejoin us to a rather surprising but entertaining development. It's awoken the peloton from its slumber. It's Ben Healy going in the attack in the final 53.5 kilometres of this race that on paper today was supposed to be down for the sprinters. Healy's joined by 2 other riders. Bingo have a man up there. Arkea Samsic joining them. They are at 30 seconds now from the 3 riders in the break, who are from Bova, Tranchant and Wenzel. And Ben Healy, as he showed at the Giro d'Italia this year, is not a rider you want to let up the road. Yes, he's a top climber, but he's also a fantastically gifted time trialist. Once he's away, he's difficult to pull back.
He definitely is, but just watch the Bingo rider here. It's 30 seconds now, and this is a classic case, right? I always say it's better to have 2 in the front than 1. So how do you get 2 in the front? For these guys to go forward, he has to ride. So the Bingo rider has to ride, which he is doing. Initially, he was sat on the back. He wasn't prepared to ride, but I think he's realised now that it's better to have 2 in front. Okay, he's got a teammate there, but his teammate wants him there. And these 3 riders going across the other 3. 6 riders are a little bit more difficult to control with 6-man teams than just 3 riders in front. So this is good for Bingo. if they can get another man across here, they've got 2 riders in there, and they've got more of a chance to win.
Again, I hope I'm not speaking out of turn here, Brian, but also, you're Bingo Wallani Bruxelles. You're not the team who's come here with the favourite to win sprints and general classification. If you're not attacking the race, what on earth are you doing here? Of course he should be wanting to be at the front.
Yeah, he'll want to ride, but initially, if you noticed that, Rob, he was starting to sit on.
That was puzzling.
Yeah, I don't like that. His teammate has told him, right, he's coming across now. So he might decide, right, sit on a little bit. So he gets sitting on. He has to go to work. They have 2 riders in the breakaway. They've got a couple of strong riders with them. The more the merrier, as far as I'm concerned.
Tom Southern and Andreas Clear, well played in the car, because they started something here. And they're trying to be creative. But now then, are they being creative enough? Is this continuing? It doesn't look like it for now. This is the reaction behind. It's certainly stirred the pot a little, hasn't it?
It is, but he's been called off. Ben Healy's been called off not to contribute. But my question is, why go on the attack and then be told no? Costio is the rider from Arkea Samsic, so it has kind of brought this peloton to life a little bit. But my question is, why go on the attack and then get told no, don't do anything? And the person or the team benefit from it is Bingo, because if they can fire another man across here, then they've got 2 in front.
Guérin, no danger in the GCs at 1:13, so no worries for Israel Premier Tech with him up the road. There was a worry, of course, with Ben Healy, on paper a possible winner of this race. Yuan Kustu is the man on the right-hand side in the red jersey. He's about to be retaken with Ben Healy. The break's going to grow to 4 riders, we think, if this man can finish the job, but their gap's not going to be much more than 30 seconds.
No, it's not, but it might go out again. I think if he gets across, which I think he may, because, he just say to the guys that he's with in front that, I've got a teammate coming across. It looks as if the peloton kind of shut off a little bit. Ben Healy did go on the attack. He just kind of tested things out. Costio and himself were at 10 seconds, so they were a danger. They were going to chase, but irrelevant if they kind of change Ben Healy down. I know some people will be called off because I think it's a waste of effort, but why go in the attack in the first place if they think it's a waste of effort? It just, you have to make the peloton try hard, and this race could have opened up a little bit there, but yeah, let's see if Guérin can get across. I'm pretty sure he can, and this gap will open up, I'm sure.
It isn't a flat finishing circuit at all. There's an uncategorised climb on both real full occasions around, just coming out of the finish line. So there's something to play with for the attackers today. And of course, the other something to play with is what we mentioned early on, that this is a race with just 6 riders in each team, and it isn't a field that's packed full of sprinters, so you don't have, like you would on the first 2-3 stages of a Tour de France or a Giro d'Italia, strong packs hunting together to bring you down.
This would be a stage that I would like myself, because you've got one team of 6 with one, I think, standout sprinter. Let's make a race of it. It's not super hilly. It's kind of up and down, flattish finish, or slightly uphill for the last kilometre. But this is good racing roads, and if you kind of want to open up the race, if we get more counter attacks like happened there, then it's very difficult for Bora Hansgrohe to control the whole race.
There's an opportunity to make contact then for Alexis Guérin, French rider from the Belgian team Bingo. And delighted he has continued to ride. Again, I was as puzzled as you were, Brian, why he wouldn't want to continue through.
He was just following initially, wasn't he? About 5-10 kilometres ago, he would never have thought, oh, I'm going to end up in a breakaway.
He's a rider who can do it. He's 31 now. He's been around a long, long time, mainly in French cycling domestic teams.
The thing is, the other 2 riders will know that they're not going to get any help whatsoever from Bam Boven unless Guérin gets across. So there's nothing they can do. It's just a case of just continue to ride a little bit. When Guérin gets up and Bingo have got 2, then they're going to have 4 riders riding on the front instead of just the 2.
Biggest win of his career came earlier this year at the age of 31 as well. Gerhard taking a stage at the Settimana Internazionale Coppi e Bartali.
Small race then.
I tell you what, that's a race with just the two names in the title. You want that on your palmarès, don't you? Everybody wants a bit of a Coppi and Bartali on their palmarès. Hollenfels Castle looking rather splendid. And it's going to be a splendid view here for Gerhard because he can see the three up ahead. He's got one or two short efforts to make. As soon as he's made them, though, he's going to begin climbing in the final categorised climb of the day. Here they are, a quartet.
Yeah, I think Guerin will just miss a couple of turns, just get his breath a little bit, but it means that Van Boven will start to ride now. So, you know, it's better for the other two. So, good effort from Bingo. They've got two riders in the breakaway of 4. Very slim chance, but still a chance.
And the gap at 46 seconds. Gerhard looks behind, and, well, don't waste energy doing that because you won't be able to see anybody. Almost a minute. Bastien Tranchant at the front here for Agilozao. This now is from Bove. Wenzel is going to be interested in the King of the Mountains. It'll just take a while to get organised again, these 4. For now, Gerhard sits on and takes his moment to recover. The climb coming up is ridiculously hard for the first half. Gradients of 11-15% for 700 metres or so. And then the second 700 metres of the climb, it eases off somewhat. The first category climb, so 3, 2 and 1 points available at the top, and you would imagine that Wenzel will be taking as many of those as possible. An 8-point lead so far, already in charge of that Black King of the Mountains jersey as long as he finishes the race today. Bora Hansgrohe continue the work that they were putting in before. Interested today in setting up a sprint finish if they can with Jordi Meeus. And this is Niels Pollitt, their former German national champion, stage winner at the Tour de France. Biggest moment in his career so far, as well as that national jersey. Bit of a nearly man in the classics. Always one to factor in, isn't he? But yet to have that big breakthrough in the Belgian spring. Approaching this climb, several riders being moved up. Izagirre on the left-hand side, one of those in the red and white. He, of course, rides for Cofidis. Here is Victor Campenaerts. Left-hand side, moving to the centre now. Blue helmet on with the red and black as well on the jersey for Lotto Destiny.
He might be interested in doing something. He's just seen Guerin go across there, and Campenaerts is that way inclined as well. That's, you know, you always look at options. He tried hard yesterday to ride everybody off his wheel. Wasn't able to do it, but you might think about it here, the gap only within 30 seconds.
Let's look at these roads as well, Brian. There's going to be a real race into this climb because the roads are narrow. We're talking about Belgium in the spring. It's like racing the classics, this.
Yeah, it looks very much like that. Quite narrow, quite steep, and I think we could see a reaction from it. I hope we do see a reaction from the peloton, because Bora Hansgrohe are having to do it all themselves. And they were riding quite hard into the bottom of that climb with Niels Pollitt, so I think they have to be aware that they make sure that they get all their team over this climb in first and foremost, because any other riders coming across there, they could lose control of this race.
Gap down to 16 seconds. Wenzel looks around the corner and realises he's got to get his skates on if he wants those points. Bora Hansgrohe are trying to slow things down at the front here, Brian, and occupy the road.
That's the best thing they can do, just slow it down. They want to get as many teammates over the top of this climb as possible, so they were riding quite hard. into the climb. They've now blocked the roads. They'll take it easy. This gap will go up because there was a bit of a danger that maybe one or two, Alaphilippe is there as well, so one or two might have wanted to try and take advantage.
Alaphilippe in conversation there with Campenarts. Itchy feet as always. The man from Montluçon. Hardest part of the climb's almost over. Turns into a rider road up here. This is Guérin now riding at the front. Van Boven, the man who was already in the break behind him. There's Wenzel, and this is Tranchant. 28 seconds, gap's grown by another 12 at least, just on this climb. So a numerical illustration there of what we saw from Bora Hansgrohe. 500 metres to go means we're into the easier section in terms of the grade. A stellar bit of work from the German team this.
Yeah, just that's all you can. The whole team just blocked the roads. Not illegal, you can do this. It's been a little bit controversial in the past. Some riders, some teams, tend to maybe go a bit too far sometimes and kind of bully some riders, but I think it's fair to say that it was a good effort there for Bora Hansgrohe to be able to do that.
That was well-natured and well-meaning as well at the front. There's a look around, and Alaphilippe, I think, saying something in jest towards Jordi Meeus, who looked around and went, well, I still want to be here at the top. And by the top, the gap's going to be now in a minute. Here we go. Wenzel looking for 3 points. Let's see what he can do. He's up into second, trying to get beyond Guérin if he can. He's going to have to be satisfied for that position in the wheel. He might have to be satisfied with the 2 points here because Guérin is going to go out. He takes the maximum points over the top.
Hang on.
Oh, Wenzel might well be pipped there. And here's the line. Let's see. 1 point for Wenzel. He means he has a 9-point lead as opposed to the 8 there. And Bingo finally helping their man Turgels.
Yeah, but he wasn't there. He wasn't even in the counter move as well. He could have come across the gap. What is he doing? Is he taking the day off? I know he's gained a couple of points in that previous climb, but he's getting his teammates to help him out.
This is the scene behind. Gap at 103. Chris Nederlands comes to the right-hand side as we look at it. Peloton's left. Did a good job yesterday for Israel Premier Tech. Haller alongside him, Pollitt, Youngles in the centre, and then Meeus, who wants a bunch gallop. So once they come over here, they'll have got their main man over the most difficult climb remaining.
As easy as possible.
But they're going to have to work harder now in the chase, Brian.
Yeah, that's always the case. Just going to ride into the bottom of the climb, take it easy, hope that you can block the roads. They've obviously done their homework, been able to do it. The risk is someone else who's counter-attack. Nobody did.
Current king of the mountain standings then after 2 stages, as long as everybody finishes safely. Mats Wenzel on 20, a 9-point lead over Lennart Turgels on 11. Vitor Braat in third on 6th. Join with Luca van Boven, who's picked up 6 points today as well. And Alexis Guérin now has 5 points in 5th. So Wenzel may well have said goodbye to the break here. He has. Second day running he's done this, or yesterday he tried to, didn't he? But we didn't think he was allowed. Is this an intelligent move, Brian? Conserve energy?
I think so, yeah. I think he knows his big job. He's probably been watching, many other kind of races where this does happen from time to time. you know, you go out there with one goal in mind, getting yourself in the breakaway, getting the maximum you can, and that's King of the Mountains points. You could see that, you know, he's already got a bunch of points already. The third climb of the day, you could see that he was starting to struggle a little bit. So, you know, and he was kind of well beaten there into first and second. So he's got the maximum out today, starting to feel a little bit tired. He's got tomorrow to think about as well. So, yeah, time to try and save a little bit of energy.
New race situation over the top then. 42.5 kilometres to go. And Bora Hansgrohe have given themselves a minute and 20 seconds to pull back. They've got one less rider to pull back as well now, with Mats Fensel leaving the break and heading back towards the peloton. So Tranchant, Guérin and Bova out there. Not the end of the climbing today, as we stressed earlier on. About to enter the finishing circuit soon. But once we do, there'll be 2 intermediate sprints, and after each of those 2 intermediate sprints, an unclassified climb. A sharp descent as well, and the last 5 or K, or 5 or so K, will be on flattish roads. An uphill last kilometre, slightly uphill that is. Something to look at when we start to think about who might win how. And how the likes of Jordi Meus will be approaching this. Good thing for him is he'll have a couple of times through the finish to assess where he thinks he might need to launch any potential sprint. The new breakaway trio. And a musical chairs. It's like musical breakaways today. 3rd different breakaway of the day already.
Yeah, I think this is better news. They got kind of fresher legs with Guérin just going through to do his turn now. He looks strong. He looks strong in that climb there. So I think Tranchant will be happy with this. And sometimes is the case when you get 2 riders there in the break of 3 that they give that a little bit more because they've got 2 riders. So yeah, I don't think it's going to be possible today, but they're putting up a good fight for Bora Hansgrohe, who seem to be doing a very good job of making sure that, you know, they do the right things. They push on the pedals when they have to, they ease off when they need to, and I'm pretty sure we could be seeing a bunch finish today. But if I was in this group as well, and Bora Hansgrohe being on the fronts, the likes of Campenaerts and maybe a couple others, they might want to kind of test them on this kind of finishing circuit when we get into the final kilometres.
Very short uphill before a big drop down towards Mama for the first time. Already 20 seconds chopped off what was almost a minute and a half of a gap. Bora Hansgrohe working well today. If you're switching on and just joining us, today it took over 20 kilometres for the breakaway to go. Quinten Hermans winning an early intermediate sprint, of which there are 3 today, 2 still to come. 6 maximum bonus seconds available before the finish line. 10, 6 and 4 on the finish line for first, second and third. There's Ben O'Connor, not been involved in the shake-up today. You wouldn't have expected him today either as well. Onto the circuit for the first time. First break of 4 was swallowed up on our first King of the Mountains climb. Then we had another break of 3. And this is the second break of 3 we've had, with an exchange of 1 rider. Fensel, who's going to be the King of the Mountains as long as he finishes the race today, substituted by Alexis Guérin. He's the man wearing 1-2-1 in the centre. Alongside Guérin, you've got Bastien Tranchant in the white, stage winner in Burgos last year. And Luca Verbova, who's the best placed in the general classification at 31 seconds, but with a gap at 55, no real danger. To Corbin Strong, who is the leader in the yellow jersey. Bora Hansgrohe, we think, are the strongest team on paper with the strongest man on paper. Winner on the Champs-Élysées in the sprint, Jordi Meeus. But there's plenty of competition from elsewhere. And again, finally, for the benefit of those joining us late once more, we have one interesting attack from Ben Healy that kicked something off. He then drifted back to the bunch. We are waiting, watching, wondering to see if there's going to be any surprises on our couple of circuits and a half. That half we're on now, and we're heading towards the finish line in what, around just under 10k's time for the first time. "53 seconds. How will Bora Hansgrohe be feeling about things now, Brian?
I still think they'll be happy. When Ben Healy was attacking, it was maybe a little bit kind of worrying whether Ben Healy decided to do that himself and then was kind of called off, or he decided to, we'll have to see in the kind of wash up. But all day long, 3 riders in front, I think, there's always a breakaway. It's not often we commentate in a stage race where there's no breakaway. We have done it in the past, however, but there's always a breakaway, and if at the start of the day, if you could have 3 riders in the breakaway, team of 6, then that's almost kind of perfect. Anything up 5, 6, it's borderline too many. Anything above that is too many. Gives yourself too much hard work, and I'm pretty sure that if it was 8 or 10, there's no way of bringing it back just with one team. So I think Bora Hansgrohe will be happy with this situation. They will be a little bit worried about that small kind of climb. They have to kind of manage it. I'm pretty sure they will, but there'll be a few other teams sat back here thinking, well, it's a sprint finish. One team, they've used a couple of riders today. Let's test them out. Let's see what we can do. But I think the case of Ben Healy, it might be a case of he went on the attack. It would have kind of opened up the race, made it a little bit harder. Maybe they're thinking of the bigger picture and maybe kind of trying to kind of hold back Ben Healy for the day still to come.
Jordi Meeus, who has not been in the top 10 of any race since he won on the Champs-Élysées. Had a 12th place on day 4 in the Renewy Tour. That was his best since then. Only his second stage race back, so we're not being overly harsh on him. Keep your eye. And just an illustration that none of these roads are fully flat. This is Luxembourg. Into the final 36k's almost of the longest stage of the week. Tranchant-Gerhavenbouve. It's the latter who's at the front here. 23-year-old from Belgium, from Zottegem, Flanders. Luxembourg local hero Jungels sits in the line. I mentioned early on, only one winner from Luxembourg overall of this race in the last 40 years. That's Frank Schleck. We saw Ben Healy on the attack, didn't we, early on? There's never been an Irish winner of this race, believe it or not. For those of you watching in Great Britain, one win, 1965, Vin Denson.
I'm just going through the field now and just kind of having a little kind of glance over, but possibly Ben Healy had been told no, maybe Magnus Cort, because the thing is, when you've got kind of one main sprinter, they control things, but you still have options, and I think Magnus Cort might have been given a nod that he might want to sprint today. Looking at some of the others. The under 23 world champion Axel Laurence can sprint a little bit for Alpecin Deceuninck. But apart from that, you know, you're kind of clutching at straws a little bit to get anybody. You know, probably Lawrence Pitty of Groupama as well. They're down to, I don't think he's got much of a lead out with Junior Ladagnu and Madouas. But let's see, it's not going to be the perfect sprint finish. It's going to be a little bit messy, going to be very difficult to control, but I think we may see some action as we roll in towards the finish over the last kind of few kilometres, because not everybody just wants to kind of sit back, save their energy for the next few days. I think a few riders might decide that they want to get involved with the action.
You would hope so.
Well, I'm telling them to.
Well, the possibilities of people getting involved continue to increase because the gap is decreasing. 38 seconds, 4Ks to go to the line from this point. There's always something doing on these roads, aren't there? I've seen very little in the way of long, straight, flat roads. I mean, for example, you compare this to the stage that took the riders in the Vuelta through Castilla y León the other day with a bit of a crosswind towards the end. It finished in Iscar, and it was like riding through the deserts of the United States, wasn't it? Over up on the north part of the Meseta in Spain. This is very different. It's winding, it's left to right, grippy, entertaining roads that always have the possibility for something to happen.
Good racing roads, very good racing roads, and hopefully we'll see that over the final kilometres. Of course, we've got some difficult stages still to come. A lot of the kind of GC contenders will be saving themselves for the next kind of couple of days. But this is a good opportunity for a lot of teams, and probably the best opportunity for them, if I'm completely honest. Because there'll be a lot of riders thinking tomorrow's big stage, the Queen Stage, the time trial, and then last scenario on Sunday. So for a lot of teams, this is a big opportunity for them.
Uh-oh.
I'm used to that anyway.
You are, but it's not what the sprinters want, is it? Dario Cataldo down here at the back. Lovely to see him back racing after that horrific crash in Catalonia. By the way, we've got a brand new start town in Catalonia being announced for the next few years. They signed the contract the other day. Sant Feliu de Guíxols. Rather like Calella was for a while. They're going to have the contract to have the Gran Sortida, as they say down in Catalonia, the big start. The Grand Départ of the Volta Catalunya for the next few years. The oldest stage race in Spain, Volta Catalunya. It will soon come round again. March time. Yes, so good to see Dario Cataldo back racing. And of course that crash meant that he missed a really important appointment for him, which was the Giro d'Italia starting in his home region of the Marche. Not something that happens every year. It's been a good couple of decades since the last time that it had happened. Talking of big starts in Italy, well, we'll be with the Tour de France next year, won't it? Tuscany. First few stages in Italy before going back over the Alps into France and a finish in Nice for the 2024 season.
Do you know what way over?
Taking place in Paris. Well, that's the current debate. Well, we'll find out what way over in October at the presentation, but lots of rumours, excited rumours. I mean, I wouldn't believe them until we see the announcement. There's a lot of people thinking, oh, we could have some really entertaining mountain stages on day 4. Let's see. Genève, maybe? Maybe something even more exciting. Let's see.
And yellow.
Yes, please. Just don't tell Steven Krazek. "25 seconds. Our first look at what will be the run-in. There's plenty to think about here, Brian.
There's a little, when they went into that and they saw the shot there, it wasn't as bad because they could ride on to that kind of roundabout. It wasn't as if they had to kind of ride around it. That's where the difficulty lies. But they're getting an opportunity to see this this finish now, which I think is a good thing. When we talk about teams having the budgets and sending satellite cars and looking at stuff, and they can use VeloViewer or Street View and all this sort of stuff. There's, for a lot of these riders, they'll be seeing this for the first time, so to see it in a couple of laps for the finish, it makes a big difference.
We're going to get some bonus seconds and points in the points classification handed out here. This is that slightly uphill last kilometre. Three, 2 and 1 bonus seconds on the finish for this passage. The same when we get the bell lap. And then 10, 6 and 4, of course, for first, second and third. It's certainly not a fully flat run-in, isn't it? 300 metres, 250 here, it flattens out a little bit. And the road is getting wetter just at the worst time of the day, Brian, when we're going to be racing all over it. Here it drops downhill a little. That's an interesting finish, this. So Guérin will take the 3 seconds. 2 to go to from Bourvin and 1 to Tranchant, but they're not interested in that. 5 points are available in the blue jersey competition now, by the way. Crowds up with the Brollies up in Marmot. And the gap when they come through the finish for the penultimate time is going to be 20 seconds. You could just see they're trying to slow it down a little, Brian.
Yeah, they don't want it. They know if they bring these back sooner rather than later, they're going to get others excited, so they're trying to kind of manage this. But yeah, with the rain coming down, it isn't ideal. But we are, of course, an outdoor sport. But it could have been a lot worse, Rob, in my view. That run in towards the finish, that's kind of slightly uphill. You can't really kind of see the finish until that kind of right-hand bend. But the fact that the riders can see it now, they know what they're up against.
Out we go to the circuit, and we'll go climbing almost immediately. And here go EF Education Easy Post again. The disruptors today, the instigators, those who want to cause chaos, and we thank them for it. It's making our day more entertaining. This time it's Jonas Rutsch, a good rider on the attack we haven't seen quite as much of this year. I think back to Paris-Nice a couple of years ago when he came on the scene and he would not stop attacking. He's a strong rider, and maybe this is the idea, Brian. Make it harder, so like somebody such as Magnus Cort or Jens Kukkulere could be there without a Jordi Meeus.
I think that is a tactic. I thought about that when Ben Hilly went on the attack earlier on today. It was maybe trying to kind of mix it up, and nothing really kind of happened, so he kind of backed off. But I mentioned Magnus Cort. This type of kind of slightly uphill finish would suit him as well. Would suit him a lot better if Jordi Meeus wasn't there. So that is a bit of a worry. But then again, you rhymed off some of the recent results since the Tour. He's maybe not in top form, but I think he's very capable of winning this, and he's definitely my favourite for the day. But why not mix it up? And I did say that there's a lot of teams will be sitting here thinking, well, there's a couple of ups and downs, and the team of Bora Hansgrohe have been riding all day. Okay, they're well in control, but this is a big opportunity for a lot of these teams.
If you're an EF Education Easy Post as well, are you trying to entice other teams to do the same here and
of course you are.
Make it difficult?
Yeah, of course you are. You're trying to get that counter-attack. You're trying to get the race moving. You're trying to split the race up a little bit, make it hard. You don't want to put the red carpet out and make it easy for...
Here you go, Jordi, it's all yours.
Yeah, there you go. There's your sprint. Okay, you might not win it. The probability is you will, but we're not going to make it easy for you. And that's what I like about counter moves and attacking, making it difficult. Everybody knows about hilly stage tomorrow, time trial, and quite a hard final stage. And you don't really want to wait it. If you're here for a stage win, you don't want to wait for the final stage because everybody knows that pressure on every team to deliver something. But today, sprint stage one, I would say out and out kind of sprinter here, but there's other opportunities for many others, and why not get in the mix? But so far, EF Education, I talked about it in another race. The way to get a race kind of stirred up is just one at a time, just attack, and just get the ball moving along. And I mentioned as well, Victor Campenaerts, this is another one. You have him in this kind of, he's hard to bring back. Yesterday, uphill, a little bit easier. But someone like Victor Campenaerts, when following attacks, attacking himself, and on the flats, he's hard to bring back.
Well, I know that in the Northern Hemisphere summer officially switches to autumn today, but we didn't need this on order, did we? It's a downpour and a nasty one in the final 30 kilometres of the second stage of the Tour of Luxembourg. The Skoda Tour, they need their best tyres. Three riders in the break still. Tranchant, Gerard and Bulver. 24 seconds. Bora Hansgrohe doing most of the work for most of the day. It's now a collection of teams right across the front of the road. We're on the first full of two full laps. And this is where it goes uphill for the next few kilometres before a very quick drop down and a march in towards the finish. Once they get there, there'll be another intermediate sprint. The bell will ring and it will be this repeated for the next lap. And look at this, it's teeming down now. Corbin Strong in the yellow jersey brought to the front. Stage winner yesterday. Race leader today. And uphill we go. Bit of looking around from Movistar, who have had Amburu as well today once more. Nederlands and Uhl looking after Corbin Strong, the Kiwi. Jorgensen, Movistar's main man, perhaps for overall. He's being kept nice and safe. And Yuri Holman is at the back, and Mats Wenzel, who's going to be king of the mountains yet again tomorrow, on the radio and out the back. What do you reckon of this climb, Brian?
I don't think it's that bad. Seems to be a little bit kind of headwind up it as well, which really kind of isn't helping. Maybe the last time
helping who?
Helping anybody, really, especially the breakaway. Not enjoying it. Look, these aren't great conditions. We've got a narrow one in his here, and as we've seen from the lenses of the TV, if you're in the bunch and they're very difficult to see, and then you get that kind of pinch point, and all of a sudden people are locking on brakes, and with these disc brakes you stop very quickly, and this pinch point causes a concern, and that's why we're seeing a few teams starting to move up towards the front because of this. So they're a bit of danger here, and magnified because of the rain.
Into the 25 final kilometres now. The plans for Valentin Madouas, the French champion. No Godou and no Pinot, who both climbed off yesterday not feeling good. And Pinot, who was struggling with digestive issues, we were told. So over the top here. Now they're on the same road on which they entered the circuit last time. So from now on they know every road they have to ride on.
Yeah, they do, in the wind direction as well. It's probably the last time up here was it started to kind of rise up through that town onto this kind of smaller road. Like we've seen before, if there's a counter attack, you do have an opportunity if you've got some teammates just to kind of block it. We get to this point, turn right, you know, the wind is kind of helping you a little bit more, so it'll be a kind of faster ride in towards the finish, so it gives an opportunity for a 15-20 second gap to open a little bit.
Borasco continue to get the help, given the conditions, given where we are and the proximity to the finish now. Seconds though, hanging out there. Kaalby moved up to the front of the Dane in the lighter blue jersey by his teammates in the royal blue from Albacete Koenig. This is a stretch of road that might make a few people more nervous this time down, given how wet it is. Certainly having that effect on the breakaway for Alexis Guérin in particular. Pollitt likes this stuff though. To his teammates.
This is a difficult one here.
So the most difficult of the descents done. Guérin just losing contact. He's going to get back on, I think. He's looking down though. What's happened to the gap, Brian? It was halved on that descent.
Yeah, just make sure everybody's round that corner. That's probably the most difficult corner just to get around. The descent before that wasn't that bad. A couple of sweepers, but Bora Hansgrohe just get together again. They'll be happy with the situation, probably prefer it dry. Søren Kragh is another rider that's maybe again today in that kind of lighter blue jersey, has an opportunity. Baggioli maybe for Soudal Quick-Step, and let's see. I still think that the favourite is Jordi Meeus, but there'll be a few other kind of other sprinters camp as well for Tudor Pro Cycling, so let's see.
Tudor Pro moving up left hand side as well, actually.
It doesn't matter what team Bob Jungels is in, you can always see the bent arms that he has, that kind of style. I was just talking to someone the other day that's, you know, I started commentating when there was no helmets and glasses. There was glasses of course, but no kind of helmets, and everybody looked uniform. There's a few riders that you always pick out. Bob Jungels is one, for me anyway, that you can always pick out his style. Van Sevenant, another one all day long, but there's certain riders you can always tell by their style.
Sevenant has to be the most pronounced, I think, of any rider I've seen. He's a gift to the commentator. $21Ks remaining. It is raining cats and dogs in Luxembourg, so much so that I'm afraid we've had to
Rewind.
just rewind a little bit.
Do you think that's live?
That certainly isn't. The weather's way worse than that. We're looking at Ettelbruck, and we hope to take you back to the live action in just a moment's time. Castle Watch in Berg. We're going to be finishing just west of the Luxembourg capital city, where we finished yesterday in Marmot. Another finish in the city of Luxembourg coming up on Sunday, out on the Kirchberg. There's the national flag. The Grand Duchy of Luxembourg, its full name. Oh, my word. 12 seconds. Just the time gap they're occupied with. It wears a towel, I think. Good job there's no bus shelters around here. They'd be nipping into it. 11 seconds. It's coming back together, this, Brian, now.
It is. I was just about to say they can see them, but maybe not everybody can see these conditions. You know, very difficult, and you know, as an ex-pro bike rider, it's, you know, for the finish of a race, you really kind of don't want that. It just adds to the kind of danger. It's been able to see, and as everybody knows, when they come into the kind of finish, there are certain kind of risks you take, and in these conditions you can't sit as close to the wheel as you probably normally would in the dry, and that not only is kind of the rain coming down, that kind of spray off the wheels as well.
Horrible.
Well, you sit in a dry, warm commentary box.
Well, exactly. I'm describing the images on the screen, Brian. I'm glad I'm here and not there. Now, Magnus Cort, who've been talking about, just losing contact at the back here. He was alongside Jonas Rutsch. It looks pretty apocalyptic, doesn't it? Another look behind. There's Tranchant now coming to the front. Yep, another turn. They've not got us yet. 2 kilometres away from another passage of the finish line. Talk about being out of sight, out of mind, almost being out of sight, out of mind with 10 seconds of a gap there, given the conditions. But it gets a little clearer.
The only good thing is it's not cold.
Yeah, nice 19, 20 degrees out there today, by the way. There's this little collection of roundabouts and road furniture before we go into the final kilometre. Nothing too untoward. Barrier section now, 1.5 k's before the finish. And the bell will ring this time through. They can take them back when they want, basically, now. That's the Flamme Rouge right inside that little inflatable next to the 2 white vans. And as you're explaining, Brian, you can pass over the roundabout there rather than going fully around it. Doesn't cut as much speed off.
No, it's nice. I just don't like that bit before because you've got barriers between live traffic. Don't like that at all for safety reasons. Don't like to see that in any race because all you've got is barriers, and as we know, that's, you know, if there's a mishap and you go into the barriers will move into the live traffic. So not ideal, but not ideal conditions for everybody here. But they do have control of the breakaway. Get the Swedish champion up. We did mention Alexander Kamp. To Bora Hansgrohe, just kind of knocking it off. Just they'll be preparing for maybe some attacks on this final circuit, but definitely for this run in towards the finish.
Nobody wanting to bring it back for the bonus seconds here either. 3, 2 and 1 available. Final intermediate sprint of the day. 300 metres to go until we get there, and the bell will ring this time across. Here's where they go over the top. Finish line now in sight. The final, 150, 200 metres where the uphill section stops. And it's quite pronounced, isn't it? It's a better view from here of that uphill slide. Bell rings. We should do. And it's 5 seconds. It's coming back this. Final lap. Chance to move up here on this wider road. Grandchamp, Gerhardt and Boven, and their venture should be over here. Tudor Pro Cycling the most active now at the front in their black jerseys. You can see Swedish champion Ericsson, you mentioned. Of course, he's in a changed jersey because he is that Swedish national champion. And now EF Education Easy Post start to move. Jens Kukkeler among their 4 riders there. Fast finisher. We know that Magnus Kort was hanging around somewhere at the back. Still there as well, not being dropped. So, not far from the climb. Remember, it was in the first half of the lap we saw the main climb. Miserable faces with 1 lap to go. Who can blame them? It's pouring down in Luxembourg. But it's got to be heads on, game faces on. Breakaway is brought back. Oh, this is interesting. It's Alexander Kamp who's at the front here. So Tudor Pro Cycling looking to try and do something. Plumers is up there, of course. White jersey on, isn't he? He's got that best young riders jersey on, maybe looking for an improvement upon yesterday.
Yeah, he was up there yesterday. And it all goes down to the team, of course. Kamp, I think throughout this season, has been their kind of go-to kind of sprinter outside of course, you know, their other sprinters. So I really do think that maybe it's Plumers, maybe it's, you know, the kind of uphill finish, maybe the kind of white jersey and things like that. So there's a lot coming into it.
13 kilometres to go. Key part on this course now to see what happens, Brian, on this climb.
Yeah, it's just not on the climb, it's the bit after the climb, that kind of small road, quite easy kind of to block the passage of many riders. So I think a lot will be aware of that, but there's a long kind of fast run in towards the finish, so I think it's from the top there. I don't think you'll get a huge advantage. Very difficult for it to happen, but let's see. I think someone will try, but let's see who it is.
Rojas moving up, blue jersey left hand side.
You can just see that spray kick up above the peloton, can't you?
It's a very big brusque change since yesterday, isn't it? As we see Amador right hand side as we look at it, left hand side now. Hutch is trying to move up and join him. Court is still hanging around here. Alkea move up, far side of the picture in their red jerseys. And crash earlier on today for Thibaut Garnelec, by the way. Rather like yesterday, it's sort of wait and watch. It's been a cagey start, hasn't it, to the Tour of Luxembourg, really? Very hard stage coming up tomorrow, followed by a time trial, though. Tomorrow's final loop includes 3 ascents of a climb that has an 18% gradient. Alexander Kamp on the right as we look at it, black jersey, little red marks on his sleeve to denote that he's been a national champion of Denmark before. Jonas Aguirre, left-hand side. Red and white jersey on for Cofidis. Kamp doing a good job to position his teammates. Those teammates belong to the Tudor Pro Cycling team from Switzerland. And the reason they wanted that position was for this right-hand turn. Clymer is in the white jersey, best young rider. So he doesn't hold that jersey as the main man in that competition. Of course, he's looking after it for Corbin Strong, who's still only 23. Strong wearing the yellow leader's jersey. He's been slipping and sliding. Israel Premier Tech just sitting a little further back this time. And same with Bora Hansgrohe, O'Brien, just sitting further back in the peloton now with Jordi Meeus.
Yeah, I think it's the calculations they make that, you know, they don't maybe want to make the effort to move up. They don't think that, you know, if anybody goes on this climb over the top down the other side is long enough to get organised, big enough road to bring it all back together. 10.5 kilometres to go, so it's a big ask. A lot of teams are moving up towards the front. You can see Alaphilippe taking his glasses off. He's on the right hand side. The left hand side, as you mentioned, in the red and the white is Jon Izagirre. So it's a case of being there. You want to be there, but you know, some riders like Magnus Kort is just very relaxed towards the back.
It's a case of nothing to prove as well for Magnus Kort. I'm sure he'd love to win today. He's won on the very biggest stage as well. Lisi making the effort to move up and join his teammates in the white. As where it narrows. And this is Ericsson, the Swedish champion, front now. And she's got the camera mounted on the handlebars, recording the moment for posterity.
You can wave back at him.
Again, the reason why people want to be at the front is because of these narrowing of roads. I think Gamper's the man at the back here for Bora. He's done a lot of work already today. And the man who's on the shopping list at Lidl Trek, being crossed off as acquired. And we're yet to find out if they've been through the checkout for the final time this year. Back off the narrow roads onto the wider ones, and this is where the climb goes close to coming over the top now. The top of this road, the next kilometre or so, is where the nervous moment will start because of the descent again. There's Corbin Strong, sitting well surrounded by his teammates. Madouas moving up for Groupama FDJ. And Strong sitting right smack bang in the middle of the bunch, isn't he? You can see a lot of people moving up, and this is why now, Brian, because they want this position for that descent. Amador is there on the left-hand side in the pink. Petel's in the white. Ericsson in the blue and yellow of his national champions jersey through the centre. Like here, she's trying to join in the Swiss national champion, I should say, as well. And downhill we go. So nothing happened on the climb, basically.
No, it's kind of half expected with the way that the peloton were riding. It's just this right-hand corner at the bottom of this descent, and then we've got that kind of slight kick up. Alaphilippe still towards the front. Mark Hirschi on the kind of left-hand side for UAE Team Emirates.
Eight kilometres remain. Look at how the weather's really managed to dive down on the course and fill in through the valleys here. Couple of twists and turns. As Brian noted last time through, it's the sharp right corner under the narrow road that's the biggest problem on the descent. So the white lines on the way down, though, something that people will be wary of. Here is the right corner, I think, coming up in a moment. There it is. Speed taken off for most people. No chances taken. And everybody through as Alaphilippe is on the front and stretching it out for Soudal Quickstep. And where he goes, Quinten Hermans will go. Andre Amador sits there in third wheel. Mark Hirschi, Nance Peters. And this is an interesting move by Alaphilippe.
Yeah, I'm not too sure if it's an attack trying to kind of break the peloton. I think it's a case of just maybe trying to kind of split it, maybe make it hard. They've got kind of Baggioli. He's just kind of sitting up, you know, doing a hard tempo at the front. He looks around. Mark Hirschi is in third place, but you know, an opportunist move over the top of this climb for anybody, but it doesn't look as if anybody's interested. Inside 7 kilometres to go. Let's see.
Barret-Patrice. He goes, and Carapaz follows.
It's just half-hearted, isn't it? There, that he kind of went half-hearted, and if it wasn't for Carapaz is pushing this one out. He's the one most interested. Baggioli sitting in third place there. It looks like Tobias Johannesson trying to come across now as well for Uno X and the Reds.
UAE Emirates with the rider coming across. Carapaz looks behind, champion of Ecuador. Barret-Patrice, stage winner at the Giro d'Italia this year, down in the far south on a day, weather-wise, that was similar to this. 6 kilometres to the line now. It's a minute gap, despite the big stars involved at the front. Looks like it could be Felix Groß-Schartner coming to the front here.
Yeah, definitely. Ericsson is closing the gap now for Tudor Pro Cycling. By the looks of it, the Swedish champion, Opusson Deconic on it as well. It's very difficult in this kind of rolling, kind of fast roads in towards the finish to stay away. But Barret-Patrice went, but it was Carapaz that really, you know, put the power down. But again, all back together, and we'll see this. Unless the team takes control, we will see a little bit more of this kind of attacking riding and towards the finish.
To say though, thank goodness for EF Education Easy Post, because they've been the only ones today. Now let's see, Lidl Trek move a couple of riders up, including Giulio Ciccone. Alpecin Koenig taking it up at the front now. At the back of their line of 4 riders is the man who was second yesterday, Søren Kragh Andersen. Soudal Quickstep started the party, didn't they, through that corner with Julian Alaphilippe. And now Kjell Samsic having 5 riders in the top 20 here. Red jerseys on their back. Pluimers of Tudor Pro Cycling still down the white jersey. We get a look at Aramburu, who's always a man to be watched. Amador's still there. A man whose job it is seemingly to just position Carapaz in the right place. He's doing a good job today. All of the experience we talked about earlier in the broadcast. Tish Benoot following in the yellow jersey, left-hand side, 4th wheel. Winner this year of the Kuurne-Brussels-Kuurne. There's Corbin Strong. Yellow jersey on his back, navy shorts. Israel Premier Tech stage winner yesterday and current race leader. Another kilometre close to ticking by. UAE Emirates at the front. Mark Hirschi sitting on the wheel of his teammate.
A lot of riders sitting back in this one, remaining patient. I think possibly with this type of finish, probably the right thing to do, but you do take a bit of risk. You know, from Bora Hansgrohe controlling things pretty much all day. I've not seen anything of them pretty much over the last few kilometres now, just allowing the race to kind of play out in front of them. I keep on seeing Victor Campenaerts in that kind of light blue helmet. He's always looking for his opportunity. He did it yesterday, might do it again today, but a lot of teams just sitting back.
Plummer's still sitting there. He's been the most consistently placed rider, I think, in the last few kilometres. Yes, we've had riders off the front, at the front, but Plummer has just stayed there. 5th, 6th position, white jersey on his back, and Tudor Pro doing a great job. Here comes Tiesj Benoot. He's got Tim van Dijken with him. 3 kilometres to go now. Day 2 in Luxembourg. A nasty, wet, gnarly day to get through. For the first time in a while, we see Jordi Meeus reappear at the front, and he's being piloted to the front by Niels Pollitt. Likelihood is when it gets to the business end, he might have to look after himself though, Brian.
Well, he's got Marco Haller is there. He's not too far back, but the thing is, if in this sort of bunch, you can leave it a little bit late. It's not too big a peloton, as long as your sprinter's near the front. Marco Haller can get there, and if he gets there with 1 kilometre to go and he's right next to Meeus, then he can help kind of lead out. But it's not your kind of Grand Tour sprint final. A lot of these riders are up here purely because they're kind of looking after the GC contender, few looking after sprinters. But Bora Hansgrohe on the right hand side in the kind of petrol green, they've only got Niels Pollitt looking after Jordi Meeus. But I think he could be the wheel to take, possibly Søren Kragh in the kind of light blue jersey as well.
Ardor looks like he's done for the day. Hermons now through the centre, taking it up for Kragh. 2 kilometres remain. It looks as though it will be Van Dijk to have a go for Jumbo-Visma. He's sitting on the wheel very eagerly, being looked after by Tiesj Benoot. Carapaz looking for his own opportunities, just making sure he's positioned in the right place and ready to fight tomorrow. And now Age Dezin move up on the left as we look at it. Keep your eye on Meeus. He's being piloted into that position just at the right time. We're approaching the Barrière d'Air now. The couple of roundabouts and into the Flamme Rouge that we'll take on in a minute. Here's the first of those. Couple of riders with the wrong way around. That's them out the gate. Dropping 20 to 30 places with a click of a finger. Still Hermons here, the Belgian.
Just look as if Alaphilippe's looking after Baggioli. Campenaerts now coming up a little bit now. So because we don't have a lot of top sprinters here, there'll be a lot of riders thinking that they could get a good result here.
Kirsch on the left hand side with the bunny hop onto the pavement, back off it. Luxembourg national champion. Just over a kilometre to go. We go through the Flamme Rouge now. 1,000 metres to the line. Alpes Interkoning have the prime position, the best real estate at the front. Do they have the man who can finish it off in Søren Kragh? Looking down for the yellow jersey. He's a long way back, is Corbin Strong, isn't he? But it's uphill this. Uphill all the way until the final 200 metres. Strong halfway down the peloton. It's now Tiesj Benoot who is leading this one. Uphill is his terrain. On his wheel, though, one of the big rivals. And here you go, Victor Campenaerts. You wondered, you asked the question. He's following. Bora Hansgrohe also try to follow. Pollitt is about to drop off Jordi Meeus. Meeus now goes to sit on the wheel of Alex Kirsch. Alex Aramburu is moving up as well, but it's still Campenaerts who is shaking the tree and trying to shake them all loose. One long line here. Corbin Strong is far too far back now and out the game for today. But here now goes Søren Kragh. It's going to be Van Dijk to follow. Kragh on the left-hand side in the blue. Baggioli trying to get involved as well. Meeus is having a fight. He's in 6th position. But it's Søren Kragh going all the way. 50 metres to go. Van Dijk trying to come around him. But Arcair's there as well. 3 to the line. Oh, wow. It's victory to Arcair Samsic. Van Dijk was leading that out all the way. An opportunity maybe for several other riders to get involved, and with just a few kilometres to go, we notice that Arkea Samsic had 5 riders in the top 20. They've kept all their riders up there, and they've managed to finish this one off. That is a very, very big win for Arkea Samsic. Absolute delight. And it looks as though it may well be Birmans who's finished it off. Jente Birmans winning stage 2 in Malmö. And look at what it means to him and the team. And when we mentioned possible winners, Birmans was a name we read off, I don't think without too much conviction earlier on today, Brian. He's proved us and a lot of other people wrong. That is a fantastic victory.
Yeah, everybody getting hugs now and kisses. No, it was a good win, as you said. They had numbers there. You know, they help. You know, it was into the last kilometre. We'll see the replay of it, but you know, they won it in the end. It was such a slow played out. You know, it's like dragged up, heavy legs, no real kind of speed into that one. It's just who had the legs. We see it again, and Campanart's just trying to, as you said in your comms, just trying to ride everybody off the wheel. Baggioli was there, Meos was a little bit too far back, and I think Soren Kragh thought at this stage he had it, but just look, coming from 3rd place, that little bit of kick to the line, just saving that, just being a little bit patient, just comes up and wins that quite easily in the end. Jordi Meos looks as if he finished in 4th or 5th place there, Baggioli, but yeah, it was close by Soren Kragh yet again. 2nd yesterday. Looks like he got 2nd or 3rd today, but you have to say Birmans, gritty teeth here, just had enough to come round the two that were in front of him and take a deserved victory, you have to say. You see Soren Kragh banging the handlebar. He knew he made a mistake. He went far too early there.
Soren Kragh, though, could well be going into the race lead. Finish 2nd now, will pick up 6 bonus seconds. Jente Birmans ahead of Soren Kragh and Tim van Dijk. Meos 4th, Baggioli 5th. Jente Birmans with just his 2nd career victory. Brilliantly played. Birmans, who won for the first time in his career earlier this year in Oman at the brand new Muscat Classic, always touted for a long, long time, certainly in his days at Katusha, as a man for the classics with those difficult finishes. Never really delivered. But he's 27 now. He's in a team that clearly believes in him. And again, they were never big protagonists at the front, but we noticed there were lots of red jerseys around. They did a brilliant job for him today, Brian, and he has finished it off. And that is a very big win for Arkea. Let's face it, they're not a team who win every day.
No, he never really panicked here. You know, it was Campanart was going here. You know, he's the 2nd of the riders in red, but Baggioli in 3rd place, Soren Kragh. Van Dijk here just you know, for in the yellow there, but just watch Soren Kragh. I think he opens up far too early. He had Birmans just in front of him, and when he opens up here, you see Birmans just jumps onto the wheel of the rider from Van Dijk, the rider from Jumbo-Visma, and it's a case of, I think he just opened up too early and just dying towards the line, and just look how quick Birmans can by here. So at the end of the day, you can say Birman got the champagne.
Jente Birmans takes the win. 2nd place, Soren Kragh. We'll wait for the official conversation to end in terms of what happens with the results, but I think that Kragh's disappointment there will be too. We will bring you that graphically. As if on cue, here it is. Soren Kragh, the new leader after 2 days. 2 2nd places and the bonus seconds add up to that yellow jersey. So some consolation for the Dane. Corbin Strong moves down into 2nd place, Aramburu in 3rd, Kirsch, Plumers, Baggioli, Ciccone with Van Gils, Van Wilder and Bonamour. Ciccone will be very happy there in the top 10. He is the man who will be expect to be one of those riders challenging for it tomorrow. This is what happened in the last K again today. And not a good look, is it, on the other side of the road with the moving traffic there. Not an easy watch that, but they got into this uphill finish. There were plenty of gaps, difficult to close for a lot of people behind Brian.
It was. You look where Meos was. He's at Pollitt there, and I think Pitti, Groupama just behind. But Benoot was at the front. He's thinking of Van Dijk, but this caused a bit of concern here. Campanart's I think everybody else is coming up. See Niels Paul on the left-hand side, just giving a nod to Mayers. A little bit too far back. It was that acceleration. I think some of these guys were moving up, but Victor Kampenaerts just, added that little bit of pace that, forced them into kind of staying where they were. And this is where Søren Kragh opened up here. Van Dijk was on the wheel and Beermans just jumped on the wheel there. I think just too early he opened up. He did have the speed initially, but just over the bridge of the climb up to the finishing line and just died towards the finishing there. Hung on for second place, but Beermans, you have to say, good legs today in these kind of dreadful conditions. Good legs and just enough to come round.
4.5 hours of racing, I should say, and in Malmö. And with a victory for Aker Samsic. Jente Biedermann's taken the headlines for the second time in his career and the second time this season. Not quite as exotic as in Muscat, is it? But a very big win nonetheless for the Belgian. It's only the team's 7th win of the season.
Told you I'd lead you out, Victor Kampenaerts says.
Biedermann's now with 2 of those 7 victories this year. They're now a World Tour team, aren't they, after their promotion? Yet to win on the World Tour this year, though. It's been a dearth of results, really. A very, very big moment in the career of Jente Biedermans. His first European victory after promising so much for so many years. I say so many years, he seems to have been around forever. He's only 27. He started out as a pro in 2016. And one of the big Belgian promises at the time. He has to make that effort, doesn't he, to be on the wheel here of Van Dijk. Tim Van Dijk, that is, by the way, is in this race. Two Van Dijk brothers at Jumbo-Visma. Over the top where Kragh went. It's on the flatter section there where Biedermans boomed away in celebration. Have that. Clearly meant a lot to the team. So another winner and a change of leader as well. Søren Kragh into the leader's jersey. Is he a realistic prospect to win this race overall, Brian, or is it going to be too difficult for him after tomorrow? Let's find out.
Can you describe your feelings after this stage? I mean, at the end you had a lot of rain showers. It was a hard stage. Yeah, just describe your feelings right now.
Yeah, I'm really happy, of course. It's a nice victory. It's my second this year and my second in my career. So it's been a good year so far. Today was a hard race. With the rain and everything in the beginning and in the end. The sprint was really hectic. In the middle of the race they also start to re-attacking, and I think on the climbs, and this was good for me because this makes the real sprinters more fatigued, and we knew before the start this was an excellent sprint for me. The finish was slightly uphill and this is what I like, and at the end I timed perfect, and yeah, I'm really happy with this victory.
Can you describe these last meters, because it looked like a really long sprint? How hard was it to pass Søren Kragh Andersen at the end?
Well, it was of course hard. The last corner with 1.5k to go was really important, and my team bring me in a really good position. Then I lost the wheel of my last man, and yeah, I could not find it anymore in the last kilometer. But yeah, the Kragh Andersen launched really early, and I was in the wheel and I was thinking, okay, I would be third. And then yeah, they slowed down a bit because it was a hard finish, and the last 100 meters I had an extra sprint in my legs, and I passed them.
What are your plans for the next days?
I think it's a little bit too hard tomorrow for me, and yeah, I will try to focus on the last stage. It will be on the limit, but it depends, I think, from the GC how they will race the last day.
Okay, thank you very much and congratulations.
Thank
again.
you.
Nice reaction there from Jente Biedemans. Now, if he feels tomorrow's too hard for him, what about Søren Kragh? Can he hang on, or is it... I mean, we're talking about a very difficult stage with 18% gradients tomorrow, Brian.
Yeah, I think looking at the top 10, it won't be the top 10 we've got tomorrow night. I think it's going to be very difficult for a lot of these riders. So we go into GC territory tomorrow. Be interesting to see what happens and who goes all in. I think they have to. They can't kind of hold back to the time trial, of course. That'll be the kind of key turning point. So the next 2 days, big GC battle to see who wins this year's Tour of Luxembourg.
This was the big sprint battle. Over the top there, Kyle choosing it as his moment. Van Dijk with a top 3. Good result for a man who's normally just working for other people. And Jordi Meeulsch with realistically his only chance of the week, having to settle for 4th place.
Hi Søren. Yeah, you got a yellow jersey now, but we saw you getting a bit upset after the finish because you couldn't win the stage. So how do you feel right now?
Yeah, I'm of course disappointed. I saw the finish line and I was really hoping that I would win, but it was 50 meters too long for me, and yeah, that was a big disappointment for me. I'm looking for my second victory this year for a long time now, and I really hope it will come soon. Yeah.
Was it a goal for you to get the yellow jersey?
Of course, it's always nice to be in the yellow. That's something special, and it doesn't happen every day. So I'm really happy about that. But first of all, my goal was to win the stage, and I didn't succeed. So that was a bit shit. Sorry, that was not so good.
Tomorrow is the hardest stage of this race. What are your plans for the next days? You still try to win?
Yeah, now I'm in yellow, so I have to be smart and try to defend my yellow jersey. But tomorrow is going to be hard, and I have to have a good day and I have to be smart, and then we see how it is tomorrow evening.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Leaving the door open there. All depends, I guess, on how it's raced tomorrow. Time to recover and go again for tomorrow. Now they'll be hoping for better weather conditions with big climbs and sharp descents as well. And much more like yesterday, it was cracking the flags rather than the storm we had today. See, just gone out the pit track actually, looking back over towards Luxembourg capital. Now we look towards the south of the country. Our tomorrow stage from Meertjat to Vianden, described by race director Andy Schleck as the event's queen stage. Instead of the usual road, the Côte de Niklosberg on small paths will be taken on. The average gradient sits at an eye-watering 18%. On for the climbers, I think we can safely say. It gets more entertaining when I tell you that it's got to be climbed 3 times by the peloton. Finish up at Vianden Castle. So Brian and I will see you tomorrow. Remember to check your schedules. It's at a slightly later time tomorrow. At a 2:45 Central European time. From all of you.
De deputy maire, burgemeester von Mermer, den Gilles Roth für die Sicherung 4 zu holen. Und dann noch den Herr Simon Chorius von Skoda.
Just before we leave you, we'll have a quick look at the podium. Looks as though they're finally ready.
Julia and Loris, Simon Chorius von Skoda. Und dann als dem Präsident vom Tour, dem Andy Schreck, für den Wenker von der Etappe 983,1 Kilometer aus dem Team Arkea Samsig auf dem Podium zu rufen. Und das ist kein anderer wie der Jente Biermans.
And here is Jente Biermans with Andy Schleck, race director. A big moment for Biermans. You heard just how much it meant to him. It's quite clearly in the shape of his life.
Biermans, Arkea Samsig, Kriddel und Trophy überreicht als Fänker von der Etappe vom Burgemeester auf jeden Fall Simon, dem schon den flotten Gadget von Skoda. Skoda Lützeburg, der Burgemeester, der Deputy Mayor Gilles Roth, hat den Trophy überreicht und dann bis Luxemburg Blumen an den Champes von dem Loris. Dann werden wir den Herr Burgemeester an den Simon
Champagne, flowers and the cuddly toy. What matters most to Jente Biermans is that extra line in his palmarès. Second victory of his career. Second of the best season of his career. He's a man on the up.
Merci beaucoup. Ja, als nächsten ruft man dann den Herr Sportsminister.
A look once more at the top 10 on the day. Biermans of Arkea Samsic, the Belgian rider, beating the Dane Søren Kragh from Alpecin-de-Koning, with the Dutchman Tim van Dijken in third place.
De Major-Ziveration an haut als het aber anderen en die noch demnächst werden zu Munderep wohnen. An der ruft man op de podium für den Maillot jaune. Das kein anderen wie
So here we go, the Maillot jaune, yellow jersey, and here is Søren Kragh, who's at home in Luxembourg. Danish rider who has lived part of his career in this land. And it's young Kragh on the podium with him. Might want to get him a yellow jersey like his dad as well. I'm sure if he wins the thing, the locals will oblige.
Und den Søren Kragh Andersen. So ist das die Klängefalle.
Victory then for Søren Kragh. Evading him for 2 days, but a leader's jersey. Is his reward for 2 hard days of racing. Second yesterday, second today. Where he finishes tomorrow will determine to see if he can hang on to the yellow jersey at any point throughout the week. And tomorrow looks difficult. Might be a case of hanging on to what he's got and regaining it at some point. Let's see. And just before Brian and I say goodbye, a look at the general classification with Søren Kragh in the lead by just 2 seconds from Corbin Strong, Aramburu, Hermans, Kirsch, Bajoli, and a whole host of riders at 12 seconds there.